What's good? It's Woog. We have one of the greatest female boxers in the sport's history returning to the ring and actually fighting in front of her home country for the first time in her professional career. Yeah, I'm talking about Katie Taylor, 22 wins and 0 losses, challenging Chantelle Cameron for Cameron's WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO light welterweight titles. Yes, this is the battle for Undisputed. And, normally I name the champion first and then the challenger second. But in certain cases, think Canelo Alvarez, when he's challenging for somebody else's belt, you will have the star fighter sometimes as the A side, even if they're the challenger in that fight. And this is one of those cases where, although Chantelle Cameron is the undisputed champion at 140, that it's going to be Katie Taylor that's listed as the A side. Katie Taylor, by the way, is the undisputed champion, one division below. So initially, they were looking to set up the rematch between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. They had put on a classic last year. It was one of the top 2 fights of the year. I had Lee Wood versus Michael Conlan as my 2022 fight of the year, but many people did have Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano as their fight of the year. So they were looking to set that one back up. It didn't really pan out. So what did Katie Taylor do? Well, she first took on Karen Carabajal. That was in October of 2022, beat her via unanimous decision. And instead of taking a tune-up fight or taking on her next mandatory challenger for all of her lightweight belts, she's moving up a division and taking on the undefeated Chantelle Cameron, who's got a record of 17 wins and 0 losses. So this is no walk in the park. In fact, some will argue that this is as challenging a test for Katie Taylor as Amanda Serrano was, especially because Katie Taylor is now a year older. She's 36 years old. She's going up a division to face the champion there. She's going to be giving up an inch in height. And while Amanda Serrano is a power puncher at any division, basically any division she's participated in, and if you look at Amanda Serrano's history, she's participated in multiple belts in some cases, in 6 or 7 different divisions. It's something extraordinary. But Chantelle Cameron is a sweet science technician who operates behind the jab, and you have to look no further than in her very last fight against Jessica McCaskill, where Chantelle Cameron kind of put on a boxing clinic. But you look at that fight and you realize, damn, Jessica McCaskill's looking very slow and just kind of lumbering, throwing punches from her hips, just looking off balance, and I don't know, just very unimpressive, especially during the first half of that fight. Now, I know there was a head clash in the first or second round, but man, Jessica McCaskill was looking unimpressive in the first half of that fight. But she did rally back, won a couple of rounds, but Chantelle Cameron had already pulled away on the scorecards by that point. So Chantelle Cameron, she's orthodox. She, again, operates behind the jab. She's got a pretty good left hook, but she's got a really nice overhand right. Whereas Katie Taylor, the difficulty she ran into with Amanda Serrano was because Amanda Serrano was able to punch with her. She had, if not comparable, she had nearly the same hand speed as Katie Taylor. Plus she had that send you to Mars knockout power, right? Remember how dazed Katie Taylor was in the middle rounds where she kind of slumped over, and for a second, I thought Katie Taylor was about to face plant against Amanda Serrano. But Katie Taylor, like she always does, she battles back, a lot of volume, and she's just so quick and so game, throws so many punches that, it's hard to win rounds against Katie Taylor. But if you look at Katie Taylor's recent history, she's been in a lot of close fights. I remember watching her versus Delphine Persoon. I think that was on the Callum Smith versus Hassan Endom undercard. I believe that was the case, but I thought that Delphine Persoon deserved the decision win against Katie Taylor back in June of 2019. I felt bad for Delphine Persoon when those scorecards were announced. I remember Delphine Persoon walked back to the locker room just sobbing after putting up an excellent fight against Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor, I thought, lost by a couple rounds in that fight. But they awarded her the majority decision win there. And it's crazy to think that that first Delphine Persoon fight was like 8-9 fights ago, and she did run it back against Delphine Persoon and won a unanimous decision. It wasn't as close as the first fight, still a very competitive fight, but unlike the first fight, I don't have a problem with Katie Taylor being awarded with the win in that rematch against Delphine Persoon. Katie Taylor, by the way, has also beaten Jessica McCaskill. She beat her back in 2017, 6 years ago, but that was very early in Jessica McCaskill's career. Jessica McCaskill turned pro like at 31 years old. McCaskill, I believe, is now like 39 years old. So she was a very late starter. But yeah, Katie Taylor beat her early in her development. But yeah, that first fight against the Delphine Persoon, very, very close and competitive fight, as was Katie Taylor's fight against Natasha Jonas in like May of 2021. Another very close fight where like 1 or 2 rounds either way, you could have had a variance of scorecards. Natasha Jonas, by the way, is now fighting like 2 or 3 divisions up. She's competing, I believe, at like 154 now. Keep in mind, she fought Katie Taylor at 135. But yeah, that fight was close. And I mean, hell, I thought that Katie Taylor's fight against Jessica Hahn was a very close and competitive fight. And then obviously her fight against Amanda Serrano really could have gone either way. So in these recent years for Katie Taylor, she's been in some nail biters that you are uncertain how these scorecards are going to read headed into the decision. And while she did beat Karen Carabajal by at least a couple of rounds, I thought that she won by a fairly wide margin. I mean, keep in mind, these are all 10-round fights. Even the championship fights are 10-round fights, and these are all 2-minute rounds. A lot of people don't like that, including myself, the 2-minute rounds. It just makes it hard for the fight to fully develop. And sometimes it feels like as soon as the round is starting, the round is ending. But yeah, she beat Carabajal by at least a couple of rounds, but still looked a little less impressive than she did, a couple years ago or a few years ago. A lot of people are just kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop where, Katie Taylor suffers her first professional loss. Again, a lot of people feel like they've already seen Katie Taylor lose, but to have her first official loss, people feel like it's only a matter of time. And yeah, Katie Taylor has hinted at not having very many fights left before she finally retires. So will Chantelle Cameron be the person to deliver that first official loss for Katie Taylor? I'm looking at the styles here, and although there are a lot of concerns, I mean, you've got Katie Taylor, again, going up a division, fighting a bigger and very skilled. I mean, look, Chantelle Cameron was competing at lightweight just, a few years ago. Basically, everything up to the COVID pandemic, she was competing at 135. But she does now have 5 fights at 140 under her belt, and she has become undisputed champion in that division with wins over Adriana Araujo, Melissa Hernandez, Mary McGee, Victoria Bustos, and then most recently Jessica McCaskill. And these are all either unanimous decision or TKO wins. She's got 1 TKO against Melissa Hernandez, but all of the other wins were by fairly wide margins. So these aren't the fight could have gone either way types of wins for Chantelle Cameron. But if you look at the styles between Katie Taylor and Chantelle Cameron, Katie Taylor is not Jessica McCaskill. She's not just going to be, lumbering forward and throwing those, I don't know how else to say it, but very slow punches and kind of scooping shots. And, it was actually pretty interesting that McCaskill was able to find Chantelle Cameron with a lot of those, overhand kind of haymaker right hands. She did start to connect with Chantelle Cameron. Jessica McCaskill doesn't have nearly the hand speed of Katie Taylor. So Katie Taylor, unlike McCaskill, who just keeps on walking in the line of fire, running into jabs, running into right hands, and then just kind of marching forward, throwing a punch that then puts her off balance to then get countered again. No, Katie Taylor is not that style of fighter. Katie Taylor will take a step back and kind of measure range. Keep in mind, even though she's going up a division, Chantelle Cameron is really only about 1 inch taller than Katie Taylor. So Katie Taylor can take a step back, and then she'll usually like either feint or just throw that right hand, quick right hand. And if you come in on Katie Taylor, she's got a very quick left hook, kind of a check left hook. So Chantelle Cameron isn't going to be able to sit back and sweet science Katie Taylor to death in this case. I don't see that happening. Instead, I see Katie Taylor having a noticeable hand speed advantage over Chantelle Cameron. And I think it's gonna, even though Cameron started off very well and normally starts off very well in the first few rounds by establishing her boxing superiority, I just don't think Katie Taylor's gonna give her that. I think Katie Taylor's gonna force her into fast exchanges, and I think Katie Taylor is gonna get off first in most cases. Then I think it's gonna be on Chantelle Cameron to rally back in the second half of the fight. The problem is, by then, and if you look at Chantelle Cameron against Jessica McCaskill and even against Mary McGee, she started to slow down in the second half. So you're fighting somebody in Katie Taylor with a lot of volume. So to beat her round over round, you have to at least nearly match her volume. If you're not matching her in volume, you've got to make the punching power discrepancy apparent. And I don't know if Chantelle Cameron has that type of punching power. So unless Katie Taylor looks visibly old and just kind of worn out in the second half of the fight, where her volume's not the same, where her legs aren't the same, and she's not able to move in the way that she normally moves, and if her defense just totally isn't there, absent of those issues, I think Katie Taylor wins this one like 7-3, where it might not even be like a split decision. Look, I know that Chantelle Cameron is an undisputed champion in her division. I can't overlook the hand speed disparity. And look, if it turns out when these girls are in the ring that hand speed isn't what I thought it was, okay, well then we've got another thing coming. If the hand speed here is comparable, then Katie Taylor might be in trouble. Yeah, if Chantelle Cameron is able to nearly match Katie Taylor's hand speed, then because of her kind of back foot style of boxing, yeah, that could present challenges for Katie Taylor. But again, Katie Taylor isn't somebody who just keeps on blindly pursuing. No, she's very measured at when she comes in, timing wise, and she usually has 2 or 3 fast punches to win the exchange. So yeah, I'm operating under the assumption that Katie Taylor will have the faster hands, and if she does, I'm going with Katie Taylor, something like 7-3. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on Katie Taylor versus Chantelle Cameron. Who do you have winning this one and how? And also, do you think that if Katie Taylor is able to get by Chantelle Cameron, that they do have her next fight be that rematch against Amanda Serrano, who I think has already booked another fight in like the next couple of months? But yeah, let me know if you think that will be the next fight for Katie Taylor if she gets by Chantelle Cameron. Is there a possibility that Katie Taylor might retire from the sport after this? I mean, what else is there to prove? I mean, there's another huge payday against Amanda Serrano, and you know, who knows, they might have it at that huge stadium in Ireland. Again, this is going to be Katie Taylor's first professional fight in Ireland. This fight against Chantelle Cameron is taking place in Dublin, which is crazy when you think about it. All the success that Katie Taylor has had, this is her first homecoming. That's a little bit wild. But yeah, do you think that they will end up making Katie Taylor versus Serrano? Do you think that there's a chance that Katie Taylor might retire after this fight? You know, at first when I was looking at this matchup, I was a little bit on the fence, but then, I mean, you dig a little deeper into Katie Taylor's history. It's like she just has a history of winning. I mean, I'm talking like 5 gold medals in world championships. We're talking before she turned professional. 5 gold medals in world championships, 6 gold medals in the European championships. She's just done a whole, like basically almost every competition or tournament that she's entered in, she has won the gold. Like she has, if you combine like the European games with the EU championships, with the European championships, with the world championships, and then obviously her Olympic gold medal, she's got 18 gold medals and 0 silvers, 1 bronze. So yeah, she is a flat out winner. And I just feel like in this fight against Chantelle Cameron, she's got another big win in her. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this one in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.